Hello, welcome to Black Writer Wednesday. I did it 2 Wednesdays in a row. Welcome if you're watching on the replay. Thanks for watching on the replay. Like I said, it is Black Writer Wednesday. And who the heck am I? Let me tell you. My name is Kristen Iris Johnson. I am a film producer, a writer, and a pleasure activist. And I help Black writers and creatives use pleasure to amplify their creativity and their creative work as well as their impact. And what we're doing today, it's Black Writer Wednesday, so we are talking some writing things. Now, I wanted to share about getting feedback on your writing. That's what we're going to talk about. 1, why you need to get feedback, and 2, how to get good feedback and the right kind of feedback. So this is going to be geared a little bit more towards script writers, but it really applies to anything that you're writing. But with script writing, it's really important to get feedback because when you're in it and you're writing, and this goes for anything, but when you're in it and you're writing, you are seeing and creating this world, even if it's within our world, but like you're seeing and creating this world and these characters, and you know all this stuff about your characters, you know all this stuff about the world, and not all of it's going in your movie, right? That's just how it is. You create backstories, you create all these things. So when you are in it and you're writing or you're reading it, you're coming to it with all this back knowledge and all this stuff that you've built. You're also coming to it from all these previous versions, because here's the thing. When you write a script, you are going to go through version after version after version after version, because there's going to be you, there's going to be other people reading it. When a producer gets it, they're going to have changes. When a director gets it, they might have changes. When talent gets it, they might have changes. When network gets it, they might have changes. So it's really important for you to, 1, be able to take feedback and be able to be collaborative, because your script, unlike a book where the book is that's the creative, like that's the material that is going to be consumed. Your script is not actually going to be consumed by the masses. What's going to be consumed is the film or the TV series that comes out of that script. So the script is like a skeleton, right? It's like the frame of what you're creating, but it's not the house. So to be able to create something in script format that can then be taken by the director, the talent, the gaffer, the production designer, but the editor, the DP, be taken by all of these people to put together this picture, this creative project, this story that you're putting out into the world. That is a collaborative process. So you have to be able to take feedback from people, and you have to be able to make changes and work with people. And that doesn't mean like you're never getting pushback, but if you're someone who's really, really stuck on, no, it's my story and it's going to be this way, unless you are writing, directing, producing, and, you know, distributing that content, you're gonna end up positioning yourself as someone that is like basically inflexible and not able to be worked with, because you're not willing to make this a collaborative process. Remember, the script is the skeleton, it's the frame, it's not the actual body, it's not the actual house. So it is creating the foundation for what's going to be created later. So when you get feedback, you're coming to your story, and you're reading your story with all of this history and all of this backstory and all of these things about the characters. It's harder to tell if some of those things are coming through. Like maybe there's a backstory about a character, and that's why the character, is like really untrusting with women or something like that, or, really untrusting at work. Well, maybe there's an element of that that's not actually coming through. When you get good feedback from people, you're going to see what are people actually getting from this story. How is this story playing in their minds? What are they missing that you wanted them to get? And what are they picking up that you're like, oh, wait, that's not what I was trying to say, right? But you have to get the feedback to understand how your piece is actually being received. The other thing is, when it comes to getting feedback, is getting feedback from multiple people is really helpful, because if the same thing is coming up from several people, then you know that it's actually an issue. Like if the same thing is coming up as an issue where they're like, I didn't really get this, or this didn't make sense, or I think that like this character's arc needs to be more solidified, they don't really change, and you keep hearing the same thing over and over, then you know that, okay, this is something that isn't working, I need to change it. it's harder to spot those things when you're the only one who's looking at it. So this is why it's really important to get good feedback. But how do you get that feedback? Because I know that a lot of us will like hold our piece like close to the chest because we don't want people to steal it. We don't want people to take our idea. You don't want it out there. And that's true because you want to protect your intellectual property. You want to protect your creative work. But what I do in terms of getting feedback is I have a select few people that I trust, that I know aren't going to steal my shit. And those are the people that I have read my work when I feel like I've got like a really good, really solid draft. I don't send them something with a bunch of typos. I don't send them something that's crap. And your first draft is going to be crap. That's okay. Like, let your first draft be crap. It doesn't have to be perfect. But then you go back and you revise on your own and make the changes that you need to, that you see are necessary. And then when you have a good draft, that's the one that you send to people. So you want to keep, I say keep the group small. You don't want to give it to a ton of people. Again, because you also don't necessarily want a ton of people having your material, but I pick people that I know and I trust, that I absolutely trust not to steal my stuff. People that are friends, people that are also writers professionally, who are other script writers. I have a couple of people who read. I also have people who read who aren't script writers, but they are very, very good with story. Maybe they do book writing, or they are also a big consumer of film, of television, of story, that they've even studied story, taking classes or things like that. So I have a friend who doesn't write scripts, but she is that person who's really like phenomenal with story. We're actually developing a couple projects now. So those are the people that you want to have read your work, and that way you're getting people who either do and understand script writing, or people who do and understand story, and you're getting those opinions on your piece, and that will help you to sift through like what is really coming through, what is being missed, what is not landing, what needs to change. And the other thing about getting feedback is, wait, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, here we go. The other thing about getting feedback is that you want to make sure that you are clear about what kind of feedback it is that you want. If you are like have a really clean draft, but you just need somebody to proofread, then you need to let them know like, hey, I need somebody else to proofread because I'm going to miss these typos. Because you, as the person who wrote it, you will literally miss typos because your brain will fill in what it thought you meant in the moment. If you're like, hey, I'm not like, I really need you to read this and tell me like anything that you're noticing about like any plot holes, any character issues, any questions, things that you have about the characters, without leading them, without saying, hey, make sure that you're understanding X, Y, and Z, like you're telling them what to look for. You want them to come to it fresh and see what they're getting, but be clear. Are you looking for someone who is, or are you looking for feedback on your plot? Are you wanting them to check for plot holes? Do you want them to look for like, hey, is it thriller-y enough? Or is it like, is there enough comedy in there for it to be a comedy? Just be clear about the kind of feedback that you want, because if you're not clear, you may not get the information that you need, and they may even have it. They may even have an opinion on that stuff, but they're not giving it because they didn't think about it because you didn't say. So you want to be really clear about the feedback that you have. So to recap, this is important, okay? As writers, especially script writers, it is really important for you to get feedback on your work, but get feedback from people that you trust and that aren't going to steal your stuff, but people that you trust, people who are either writers, script writers professionally, who are, or maybe like other writing, but like if you can find like other people who are script writers, finding people who are really big on story or consumers of the kind of content that you're creating. So the kind of films or TV shows that you are creating, those people are great people to give you feedback. And then making sure that you are clear about the kind of feedback that you're looking for. If you are looking for a plot, does the plot make sense? Are there any issues that you're seeing, character issues? Or if you're looking for typos, or if there's like, wanting to make sure that there's enough of an element and without being too leading, and then seeing what kind of feedback they get. And again, if you're seeing a lot of the same responses from people, that lets you know that that thing is like an issue or something's not clicking. But if there's something that someone says and you're like, I'm just not sure I agree with them, but nobody else said it, then it might have just been that person. It might have just been that person. So that's the other thing. The last thing that I want to leave you with about getting feedback on your writing is you don't get in your feelings about it. Don't get in your feelings about it. Like, I am so fucking brutal when I give feedback. Like, doing script reviews for people, I am so brutal. Like, do not send that to me if you are soft. Don't send it to me if you can't handle getting real feedback, because I'm going to give you some hard ass feedback that is going to make your story better, but you might be in your feelings about it. So you got to take your feelings out of it. You got to take your ego out of it, and also understand that, like, if someone says something and you're like, I'm not really sure I agree with that, and you ask somebody else and they're like, no, I didn't feel that way, it really might just be that person. We recently read a script and there were like 4 people who were like, yeah, I really like this. I like this element. I like this element. And there was one person who was like, I didn't like it. This didn't make sense. I don't like the character, and it's not, your story's not going to land the same way for everybody. It's the same thing with movies. Not everybody likes every movie. You get some people who like it. Some people are like, I thought that was stupid, or it irritated me, or I thought it was boring. That's just how it is. So it's the same thing with getting feedback. So you have to be able to, you have to learn how to discern what's the feedback that's really valuable for me, and not just about like, oh, I really want to keep this element even though it's not working, so I'm going to pretend that I didn't get this feedback. Like, I don't mean that. But what's the feedback that is really useful, that's really valuable, that's really going to make the story better? And where is it like, oh, maybe it was just that person and you can't please everybody, right? Because you can't please everybody. So that's what I have for you regarding getting feedback on your writing. And regarding your writing, I have a free video training called 3 Keys to Writing a Stellar Story. Sometimes I call it 3 Keys to Writing a Powerful Story. And it is for black writers. You can go to kristeniris.com/3 keys, or you can click the link in my bio and you can go and get it, and it will walk you through, again, the 3 keys to writing a powerful story that is going to hook your reader. And this is actually kind of geared towards like script or book writers, but that is going to hook the person that's reading it and make them want more. So it's going to make your audience want more. And for script writers, that's actually really important, because you're working with just the skeleton and then their imagination putting it together. You're not actually working with like a whole book or a whole film. So you got to be able to like keep the person engaged and keep them hooked and make them want to read more, because producers, they're not going to make your movie if they're not like really drawn into the story. If they're bored, if the characters are not making sense, they're not going to want to make your story. It has to be something that is going to draw them in. So you can go and get that again at kristeniris.com/3 keys, or you can click the link in my bio. And I will see you guys on another live. I'm going to try and do these on Wednesdays, the Black Writer Wednesday, but make sure that you follow me and turn notifications on so you get notified when I go live, because I do talk about a lot of things. I talk about writing, I talk about pleasure, I talk about creativity, talk about all kinds of shit. So it's always a good time, and I will see you guys on the next live.